On the Woodpecker this time, I will show you how I helped my son to build this picture frame. Last Christmas, my son's girlfriend went to Africa. She came back with a painting done by a local artist. She left the frame back in Africa, thinking I would make one for her. But she was mistaken. Instead, I guided my son Franky, and he made it himself. After all the measurements were done, he cut 4 pieces of birch that I had lying around in my shop. He checked where the remaining nails were and removed them. For some of them, he had a harder time. When all the nails were gone, he made 2 sides of each board straight on the jointer. The rest of the cuts were made on the table saw. After that, it's time to make all the tenons with my panto router. When all the tenons were done, he made the mortises. Sorry for the picture, I had some fingerprints on my disc for my camera. Then, he made the rabbit on the interior side of the frame. We dried assembled the frame, and he made the 4 corners straight the best he could. With the bandsaw, he made the angles on the corners of the frame. He also cut a slight curve on the top of the frame. When he finished cutting it, he cleaned the saw marks with a spoke shave. It's now time to glue the frame together. He put glue inside the mortises and on the tenons. Here I left the camera and helped him for the glue up. To make sure the frame was square, we put some wooden squares on 2 corners and we let the glue dry overnight. The next morning, Franky passed some birch inside the thickness planner to make some trims to hold the canvas in place. Then, it's time to sand all the surfaces of the frame. The sharp corners are sanded by hand. Now that the snow is gone, we can work outside. He removed most of the dust with compressed air and rubbed a damp cloth on the wood. Then it's time to put the black stain everywhere on the frame. The next weekend, Franky came back and rubbed the frame with a smooth abrasive pad. I gave him a crash course on spraying can lacquer. He put several coats of lacquer with a light sanding between the coats. While the last coat was drying, he made the canvas backer with masonite. The trims to hold the masonite and the canvas were too thick, so he had to plane them thinner. The trims were cut at 45 degrees with my new angle sled that I finished 2 days ago. He then drilled the trims and nailed them to the frame. Here's the completed picture frame that Franky did for Dominique. Personally, I find it's not too bad for his first attempt at woodworking. There's not a lot of manual work in his job, which is programming video games. Everybody needs to start somewhere. Thanks, and see you next time for another episode of The Woodpecker.